Yo, people, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another episode of the Coach's Tactics, where we look into the tactical side of the game, discuss how team sets up and the tactical tweaks each team makes. But I'm not alone. I am joined by two very special guests, Aston Villa fan and Manny. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. You?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yep, good to be back as always, and thank you for calling us. I don't think I've done a stream of this sort before. Whenever I've spoken tactics with you, it's normally been about cricket more than anything else. So this is something I'm really going to enjoy.
Yeah, look, it's something I enjoy looking at the tactical side of each. But yeah, we'll go through Aston Villa first. But before we do that, I know we got some comments. Be up yourself, Chelsea fan. Yeah, as you come in, hit that like button. That would be massively appreciated. Let's mute that. So yeah, but let's start with Villa. Of course, you play three at the back. So let me just set up your formation. Um, that's 3-4-2-1. Okay, so basically, yes. But while we are discussing this, while I'm setting this up, um, uh, what have you guys made so far of the Premier League? Um, so far, 3 weeks in, 2 weeks in, no, 2 weeks in. What have you guys?
I'd say 3 weeks in because each team has played about 3 games already, and it's been as
Oh
expected. It's
yeah,
been quite
oh
fun.
yeah.
A few surprising results here and there, and certainly good value for money, depending on, in terms of drama. If some teams have had good results, other teams have had not so good results, but it's shaping up quite nicely. And the nice thing is that, as always, it's very difficult to predict who will actually go all the way. I know Manchester City have a 100% record, and if memory serves me right, oh they've conceded only one goal so far, but they were made to look very ordinary by a Sheffield United team that was determined and on their home turf. But then, I guess that's par for the course when you're dealing with a team that has nothing to lose, really.
Yeah. Bailey, what have you made so far of the
Yeah,
Premier
I
League?
agree with Manny. Yeah, of course, some teams had alright results. Other teams haven't. Um, like of course Everton, they haven't scored a goal yet. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I think the Premier League is looking good. Man City probably are going to win the league again. Well, it's just always going to happen, in my opinion. But hopefully, someone else win it. I don't care who it is, but just someone else win it this season.
Yeah, I would also like someone else to win, but
Even if it was
not
Spurs, who I
Arsenal, not
don't like.
Arsenal United,
Well, to be honest,
or Liverpool. Yeah,
I hate
Newcastle.
some teams. Yeah, but I don't care who win it. Just Man City, please don't win it again.
Yeah. But yeah, I I have now got the two formations now. Bailey, talk us through how basically Villa on the attacking front. So when you have the ball, what's your shape and your outlets and stuff like that.
Yeah, our shape is really good. To be fair, of course, like we've got of course Watkins going forward, DRB, and who who can we say going forward with them two? Because it could either be Leon Bailey or John McGinn. And Emery does of course change the formation like he did against Burnley, going 3 at the back. And I think that worked. I think we should be going for it a bit more, as of course Cash got his goals because he looks really good going forward, but he just like Trent, what haven't been the best of defending lately. Um, so yeah, but going forward is really good. Our shape is good. With of course Watkins, John McGinn, and DRB. Then of course behind going forward, we've got of course the midfielders. What of course pass a ball like through. It depends like what midfielders. To be fair, depends what he plays. But it could be like Douglas, Luiz, and Kamara. Then we have of course two wing backs of Cash and of course Luca Digne. Sorry, yeah, Luca Digne wanted to leave Aston Villa, yeah, but with how he played so far, he wants to stay now. He has been superb this season so far, and in my opinion, I ain't gonna go mental at Alex Moreno, but when he comes back, I think it's gonna be hard to put him back in that team. How Luca Digne is playing good.
Yeah.
But then we got three at back of course, like against Burnley, Esri Konsa, Diago Carlos, and Paul Torres. Then of course we've got like one keeper, Watson, Robin Olsen. Well, what was Robin Olsen? I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to be in goal for longer. But
Well,
yeah, I think our attacking and that is really good. And Emery, Clara, and Barmy scored 12 goals in 3 games. Scoring goals, that's what we like to see. And now I think we're going to score 5 more, 6 more tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah, what do you think anyway, Manny?
Yeah, I mean, I actually did like the formation a great deal because when you take a look at the reason why he opted to play 3 at the back and 2 wing backs, it's because obviously the injury to Tyrone Mings against Newcastle, I think that really, really rocked you lot and set you back a big way. You know, it's interesting how when it came to Twitter, I know there are a bunch of twits on Twitter, of course, but I remember this one person, LeGrove, I think his name is, and I am going to call him out because he tweeted the utmost rubbish not too long ago. And I'm just going to make sure that I find that tweet in question. And I will make sure I come back because, you know, when you lot got beat 5-1, a lot of people were basically crowing about how Emery has been sort of found out. He's nowhere near as good a manager as people think he is, and Arsenal were better off, you know, getting shot of him. And yeah, I would like to share this tweet right now.
yeah. You can go. Shane.
Yep.
We've
So
signed a centre back
hold on.
today as well.
Yeah, I think you lot were sort of talking about getting Clement Lenglet in, who of
Yeah, we
course
signed
played
him.
for Spurs. But then what that will mean for Callum Chambers, I'm not too sure, because maybe it's a sign that Unai Emery wants to loan him out, or maybe he doesn't
To be
trust him,
honest,
or
I think of Villa getting him. I think it's a backup for Tyrone Mings, maybe. So yeah.
could very well be the case. But here's the tweet right here from this guy, and yes, I'm going to call you out and cook you. Le Grove. Unai Emery still has a small fan club against Arsenal fans, so you've got to be careful here. But it does drive me around the bend that whenever Arsenal use in Europe or his Aston Villa side has an excellent run, people start to reminisce about him like there were really good times. This summer, he spent about 88 million euros, massive for a club like Villa. But in his first game, his side conceded 5 goals, had 17 attempts at their goal, and a whopping 13 shots on target. 7 of which, of course, were saved by Emi Martinez. 5, of course, which went in, and 1 which might have been blocked or hit the post. I don't quite remember. Really, really poor for such an experienced coach who's been there long enough to have a grip on things. I'm so grateful that we moved on from him. Well, this is my response where I quote tweeted him. It's the first game of the season, you absolute so-and-so. Aston Villa are not considered favourites to win the title. They came up against a Newcastle team that were firing from the get-go and were just bullied that day. And as I mentioned, the injury to Tyrone Mings did not do you any favours, but they will recover. And as you will testify, Bailey, they have recovered. We'll see how Arteta fares when his luck runs out. seriously, some of these guys absolutely put the twit in Twitter, as you can see. But the recovery since that has been magnificent. Played three, scored 12, conceded only one, and that was, of course, against Robin Olsen and not Emi Martinez. But it's very interesting to see how obviously, he's got a real tactically his fingers really well on the pulse here. Normally, with the Villa side, they play with a flat back four. So obviously, in Mings' absence, it would be Pau Torres who comes in and sort of has a role to play, with Diego Carlos coming on as a substitute. And Pau Torres has been key to that new solidity in the back. And when Mings comes back from his injury, he's going to have a lot of competition getting back into the team. And obviously, the injury to Martinez, which isn't serious, and he should be back after a few days, meant that Robin Olsen was given his chance. So, in order to counter the pressing of Burnley, Unai Emery opted for a back three with two wing backs, and that is a lesson to idiots like Mikel Arteta. And I am going to say that he is an idiot. You cannot hope to play three at the back unless you've got two wing backs who are able to run back and forth, run down the channels, and also provide good defensive cover. And this, you were saying something, Hammer?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Yes. Go ahead, Bailey.
I know what you're like trying to say, yeah. So I'll get on that in a minute, but just, I'm gonna blame United on one thing only. Right, I know Birmingham City fans are coming to me and saying, "Oh, you play your strong team against a Scottish team, yeah." But we haven't got a weak team because Unai Emery is selling all our youngers now. All that under like Cameron Archer, he's gone, and I don't know why he sold him for some reason. Biday's gone to Hull. Keenan Davis gone to Hull. Like all these players, why is he selling these players? Like, we've got a strong team, yes, but we need some bench players what we can play tomorrow. But what are we going to play now? We're going to play a strong team when we batter a Scottish team about 6-0. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to embarrass them.
I get where you're coming from, but obviously, that was a European game, and Emery wanted to make sure that he had one foot in the next stage of the competition. And bear in mind, Aston Villa need this European competition in a way because they obviously want to showcase how good they are. So it is what it is. Now, Aston Villa does look like a good team, and that is the thing. You play three at the back, but you need to have two wing backs, and Matty Cash and Luca Digne played their roles quite superbly. Digne, of course, was bombing down the channel on the left, and Cash coming down the right. You could say that, Matty cashed out nicely with 2 goals, and I think he also had an assist for the 3rd goal, if I'm not wrong. So how can you obviously, improve on a game like that? Simple, get a hat trick. But, that particular formation which Emery put out, had enough defensive solidity and it was well spread across to try to counter any attempts by Burnley and company to try to go a little bit further forward and really play that high press effectively. And if you take a look at the 3-4-2-1 formation a little bit more closely, you could see that one of the secrets of Emery's success is that in camera, Douglas Luiz, McGinn, and Diaby, you have those 4 midfielders who always seem to play in a kind of a diamond shape. It could be a square, it could be a rhombus, or what have you. So what they have is a sort of I wouldn't call it tiki-taka necessarily, but the passing between them, of course, really keeps the momentum going. And of course, it's all built from the back through. Yes, Hannah?
When they have the ball, it's more of a shape like this than in the shape of the RB there, closer to the striker, McGinn on the wing.
No, I get what you're saying, but if you take a look at, like I said, you've got McGinn and Diaby up front, and Camara and
it's Kamara,
Douglas Luiz sort of in the back. So it is a little bit like a square. You see 7, 6, 10, and 9, 11 being Bailey, 5 being Matty Cash, I think. So that is sort of how they work. They're sort of all connected together in that sort of square diamond shape. I get what you're saying that sometimes they try to come up ahead and you have that 2 in the line. But the way they play is that those 4 are never too far apart from one another. So the passing between them continues and the momentum is well maintained. And that has sort of been the secret of Aston Villa's success in many of the games they've played, especially since Unai Emery likes to use the 4-4-2 a lot. And even if
No,
he goes to sort of like a 4-2-3-1, that also can easily transition to something like a 4-2-2-2 or maybe a 4-4-2. But that midfield dominance is normally key. For some reason, I think they were just overawed by Sandro Tonali and Newcastle. And we must put things into perspective and say that the opposition they've played since that day have not exactly been very strong. But they do have the makings of a really, really good team this season, and Emery has a system working. And one way in which I think he's improved is that he's
no,
not so defensive as he was last season. You could say that last season, had he not been too defensive in the later stages of certain games, his side wouldn't have conceded too many late goals, and maybe they would have made the Europa League or perhaps even been a very strong outside shout for the Champions League. But he's trying to get that right. He's trying to, improve the team in many areas. And that segues back to your question, Bailey, on why he's selling a lot of young players. He's also trying to bring a few people in. So, yes, he wants to have a strong bench, but he also wants to have a little bit of an experienced bench. That's why he's got some players who have the experience or are Premiership proven. And the younger players are just being sent out to get a bit of experience. But don't forget that even with someone like Archer, who I think has gone to Sheffield United, there is a buyback clause. So it's not as if the youngsters are being abandoned, in my opinion. But once again, Unai Emery is showing that tactically he is everything as a manager that Mikel Arteta will never be. And it is a lesson. If you want to play a back three, you've got to have two wing backs. You cannot hope to play a back three and effectively have a four-man midfield of central defenders. And we got Mr. Ponce in the building. Can you put that comment back, please, Hannah? Because I want to read what he says.
Yeah, of
Arteta is
course.
overthinking things. Just needs to have Partey, Rice, and Odegaard in the midfield. Brother, you are spot on. Flat back four, three in the midfield, and Nketiah up front with Saka and Martinelli on the side. Job's a good one. Emery has always been a good coach. You bet he has. And
Yeah,
as an
definitely
Arsenal
is.
fan, I will never allow myself to forget how he embarrassed us over two legs of the Europa League semi-final in 2021, including securing the result they needed to beat us and go on to win the Europa League.
Yeah.
That
But
was a footballing lesson we were
can
taught
I
that day.
if
can I just say something?
Go ahead.
yeah, go.
Wait, Hannah, was she gonna say something?
Now I just want to use the tactical board and show something I saw. But yeah, go on.
Um, I would. Oh yeah. I think we should give, of course, some like players like game time. Like, of course, we've got who we got. Oh, we got a Hibs tomorrow. So look, we got Liverpool at Anfield Sunday. Surely we can't play a Tron team tomorrow. I know Liverpool got some injuries, so everyone think Villa can beat them, and it won't surprise me if we could. But of course, I would give like a Tinnemans to run out, Burton Traore run out, Duran he needs to run out. He definitely needs to run out. Callum Chambers, I think he's a really good centre back. Signed him from, of course, Arsenal. I do like Callum Chambers. Um, I don't know, like Philip Marshall maybe in goal, like a young keeper, or maybe Olsen. Um, who else? And that new Nicole Singalo, is it?
Zaniolo,
Yeah.
yes.
I think he needs to run out. So,
So
but look how many injuries we've got. Alex Moreno, Bundia, Martinez, Jacob Ramsey, Courtney Hawes, Den Dunker, Coutinho, Tim Innebo, and Tyrone Mings. Look how many injuries. So we only get about 6 or 7 on the bench because with how many
yeah,
injuries we've got. I
but
Yeah.
know we could be selling Coutinho. He could be going. We could
yeah,
look. I
but
think we need to get some
Bailey,
new.
I'm going to go further on your point about the Emery using his youngsters. And I'm going to put a poll out because Bailey mentioned a good thing there. I think he sold like 3 to 5 of the youngsters that were starting to get into the first team. So I'm going to put out a poll. should Emery use more of his youngsters and not do a Mourinho? Um, so I've put it out there. Um, yeah, and people listen. When Rich speaks, you listen. So smash that like button. And yeah, Rich,
You know what's
stay
really
strong,
annoys
stay,
me as well?
stay strong.
You know what really annoys me? That Aston Villa every single season gets about 6 centre backs in like every summer. We only get centre backs mostly. We need to stop
Yeah,
getting these defenders because
yeah,
we need attackers because Watkins can't do it on himself, let's be real. He ain't playing
yeah.
Duran up there.
I think we've almost seen that in the first three games, but I want to go more onto the technical. So this is almost your shape of normally you got McGinn, Diaby, and Watkins. Now, for me, it either switches to almost a front four with at times uh, you see Lucas Digne.
Hannah moved number 7 up because that John McGinn and moved number 10 back.
No, this is John McGinn.
Oh, okay.
It's not based on numbers like the shit numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that so this is how it looks for me. And Digne, Lucas Digne, usually just comes in a bit. He's not on the touchline as much. Just cuts in a bit, comes in a bit, and then you have that almost that at times for me. But it's always if you can maybe bring in I don't know, Bailey. If I might have saw this wrong. Almost make a front two. Diaby a bit more behind, but then you've got a 4-4-2 almost. Well, not 4-4. Yeah, uh, almost a five in midfield type situation with Cash, the furthest one going forward. Um, this is what I have seen at times with Villa this season, but I might be completely wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm going to provide some input on that if I may, because you were
okay.
talking there basically, Hannah, about how Cash would come far forward and Digne would cut in. But on several occasions, we've also seen Digne being able to sort of run down the channels well. And this is what I like about Luca Digne is that he is that classical left back, left-footed. Obviously, he overlaps quite beautifully and can send in a few crosses. And Bailey's just said that Digne has been playing really well. Where I might disagree with him is where he says that Alex Moreno will find it tough to get back into the team. I think that in as much as Digne is wonderful as an attacker, he has on a few occasions been found defensively wanting. And ever since Moreno came into the team, he's provided that defensive solidity and defensive awareness while also being willing to really be that ballast going down the left. So, but Digne has so far played his role. And here's the thing about Digne and Cash. When you have a situation where you only have three in the back, you don't have um, you don't have a situation where both of them overlap at the same time, coming a little bit forward. So invariably, what might happen is it could very well be that Cash decides to bomb forward while Digne sort of goes a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say he cuts in, but he sort of stays in the middle of the park as a kind of
No,
an
so
auxiliary left. But what?
so uh, so you saying it's still this formation with McGinn, and then it's just Cash that's almost a bit
Not
more
necess-
forward.
not necessarily, Hannah, and I'll tell you why. Because if
Oh,
you were to just move Luca Digne back a little bit, please. If you just move Luca Digne back a little bit, and then Cash goes forward. So what happens is that it will be effectively Diaby and Watkins who play as more of the front four, whereas whereas Cash can come in and sort of almost form a front three, and you'll have McGinn and Cameron Douglas Luiz as a three-man midfield. It's sort of fluid in that respect, in a way, because Cash has been Cash is able to sort of move forward and move down the channel whilst Digne stays back. And when Digne comes forward, Cash moves back. So that's another reason why you have these this back three as such, because that way, it effectively becomes Cash, Consa, Carlos, and Pau Torres, who will almost sort of form, who will sort of complete that kind of a back four, because there is that level of defensive solidity, and Emery is
Yeah.
a smart coach who's bought quite well in the transfer market. Consa normally plays as a centre back, so he can sort of slot in there. And Torres has also been known during his time at Villarreal with Emery to sort of fill in as a left back on more than a few occasions. So that is how the formation works. And that is how Emery is able to get it right. We're going to talk a lot about what Arteta does with his system, but he gets it wrong in so many ways. The
Yeah.
biggest takeaway we can have over here is that if you want to play a back three, you've got to have two wing backs. The Netherlands have that with Denzel Dumfries and Daley Blind in the World Cup, while
Not saying the
Nathan
quality, but they do have.
while Nathan Aki, Virgil van Dijk, and Urian Timber, of course, our Urian Timber, who's now injured, would form that solid back three in front. And the Netherlands did quite well, only to lose to Emi Martinez's Argentina in the quarterfinals. So I think that's pretty much the way it kind of works. You see the fluidity in that game. And I know Bailey has to go, but do you have anything you want to say about what I've said so far?
Yeah, I agree with you, Manny. I know what, of course, you're trying to say. Luca Digne, of course, gets like what they were called. Get like can't defend that much. To be fair, I think he only can go forward. But yeah, big up.
Yeah, be up yourself.
Hopefully Villa can go and put 15 goals past Hibs tomorrow. And yeah, that
Mate, I think
Yeah.
Emery will start with Olsen for the first half and give Marshall maybe the second half. But Martinez should be fine for Anfield. Let him just get some rest. And
I think
beware of
Martinez
Liverpool
tomorrow.
after that.
I,
Yeah, no. I wouldn't play him for that game. You've already won 5-0, and it's at Villa Park. I know you're not going to take it easy, but give Olsen another chance. I think Olsen's a decent backup. He's Sweden's
Yeah.
number one, you know.
Um, but well, Bailey, before you go, let's just go through some comments. With Villa in Europe, more experience will be needed. The buyback clauses implemented in sales
we're gonna
means
win the
Social is
league this
critical.
season.
Exactly.
Come on.
But Lewis also defenses no youth left, all gone. Which I don't,
Mine.
uh,
Mine.
which I don't know. I guess
I don't
means
mind.
seems yeah. Oh, it doesn't mind. Seems like we're going to have a busy day tomorrow. And then he agrees with you 100%. Moreno will find it hard to get into the squad, and to be honest, Moreno would probably fill in at left wing
6-0 Hibs tomorrow. Why not?
and FDRB on the right. Digne has been class attack and defense so far this season. Generally, I haven't been so calm about him playing. Oh, you mean like you haven't been upset, basically, with him so far?
No, what he's saying is that he's never been as calm about him playing before as he is now.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if he likes Digne in the team, then that's his opinion. I mean, I completely respect it, and I think Digne's a decent. He's not on Moreno's level, but he is decent and can lend something. I was expecting him to be sold, and there have been some rumors about, Villa trying to sell him and get Marcos Acuna, Martinez's teammate from Sevilla. I think Montiel has gone to Forest of all teams. Good luck playing for a team in the relegation scrap, but whatever.
yeah.
Right.
But Bailey, you need to go. So quickly, just shout out your socials.
Of course, you can find me on Villa TV on YouTube, and if you wanna follow me on Instagram, like if you want to come on my channel or something, follow me Tamworth _ FC _ 222. Of course, my local team is Tamworth, but yeah, big up Manny. big up Hannah, and yeah, up the Villa,
No.
and we're gonna lose 6-0 tomorrow.
No, you're not.
Okay.
Hibs will lose.
Well, yeah.
Big up, man.
Thank you for joining, Bailey.
That's fine.
So yeah, be up yourself. Now let's talk about the title contenders, the title sweepers, the Arsenal. So let me just sort out this formation. How am I going to do this? Basically, this, and then the front three. Let me do this. Do yeah, and then front three, two there, two there. Um, I'm not going to waste time. So let's do this one. The poll. Should Emery use more of his youngsters and not do Mourinho? You guys are saying no. One says yes, rest says no. That's at this moment. If I'll have a quick look at the Be yourself. Hope you're well. I'll have a quick look at the matches. But then I'll tell you. I might do Luton West Ham, right? Let me just see. Brighton Newcastle, probably not. Um, mm, it's either Liverpool versus Aston Villa or Arsenal United. So yeah. Yeah, be up to 30 to go, then we're on 500, the big 500. So yeah, let me just see how not Forest. Who did you play against this weekend?
Fulham.
Funny. Fulham. Let me just see. I think they played a 4-4-2. Just see. Is that a
No, they had a
4-4-2?
4-3-3-2.
4-3-3.
Yeah.
Okay. So 4-4-3. So it'll be 4, and then we'll just move this there, this, and then the 3. Basically, we have it more like this. So, this is how it sets up. Yeah, yeah. Now, when you see it on paper like this, you got Partey, Rice, Havertz, Odegaard, you got your front three, you got the back three. When you see it like this, it looks pretty simple.
Which is
In a
Arsenal's
way,
colour, white or red?
white, you're white.
Okay.
So Arsenal white, Fulham red. I know it should be switched around, but it is what it is. Um, so uh, when I see it like this on the textbook, I'm thinking, okay, Arsenal, they've got uh, one more player in midfield. They should be able to do this. Overcome this Fulham midfield. Um, they've got Rice and Partey playing together, which is something we all wanted to see. But the biggest problem is Arsenal did not play with this formation all preseason. And some Arsenal fans are saying, oh, but they did this, they played Zinchenko inverted last season. Yes, they did. But the difference was he wasn't always almost. Jacko was the one further forward, and Zinchenko wasn't always stacking in. He was just stacking in sometimes. Um, Sometimes we needed to be almost when you're progressing the play, Zinchenko would cut in. And we saw that at for the end of last season where it just stayed in midfield, and we saw this formation and it didn't work. We saw lost to Forest, and that's awful into the season. Didn't see it in pre-season for Arsenal. It has made its return, um, and I wonder who's the culprit. Who, why are Arsenal playing this formation? I wonder who is that guy that is forcing Arteta to play this formation. Um, what I've heard is a Champions League winner. Um, he likes donkeys, which may or may not infer that he is one. Um, but yeah, he goes by the name of Kai Havertz. Now, why? I don't know. Probably because of the price tag and the money's on. Of course, it's around 300k. Um, um, just when he's not playing him there. He's playing him with with part time. But the biggest problem is Odegaard doesn't have as much space as he did last season. He doesn't have space to roam. Martinelli doesn't have space because he can't cut in because if he cuts in, Havertz is in the way. Um, and if he stays out wide, he doesn't get the ball because Havertz doesn't know how to pass a football. There's one clip of him where they pass it to him and they run to the other side to make them available, and he just passes the ball out. Um, and the biggest problem with this formation is, as we saw with Fulham at times, if you hit them on the counter with pacey wingers, got the likes of Kivio and what was the other one? Kivio and White.
Saliba and Ben White, yes.
Yeah. And now, one thing I can tell you is White and Mr. Jacob Kivio aren't the fastest players. Um, so yeah, but I think I've said enough and explained enough why this formation should not be used. But money, this is not where you should get angry. This is where you should release your stress. This is a therapy session for you. This is where you need to get all your anger out, all your frustration. So if you want to shout a bit, it's totally fine. The floor, the floor is yours.
Mr. Trollope, one thing which you will get from me is that I'm always going to be measured and calm on the air with you. And obviously, you know, I disguise my anger in the form of very carefully chosen words, which also are very deliberate in their meaning. Now, I already mentioned why Arteta should never play this formation, because it's one thing to sort of have three at the back and have two wing backs like Cash and Digne with Villa. Effectively, what he did with this formation was start with a back four, but with Partey cutting in and sort of forming a four-man midfield with Rice and Odegaard and Havertz, he effectively left a back three. And forget about the fact that White and Kivy are not the fastest. It's also quite fair to say that Partey is definitely not the fastest. The goal in question that we conceded in the very first minute of the game was a result of some good pressure that Fulham put on us. And I believe, you know, there was a stat which said that this was the third time that we had conceded in the first minute in the calendar year 2003. And on all three occasions, the teams were given an edict to put us under pressure almost immediately from the get-go. So what happened was that with Partey sort of coming into the midfield almost immediately, he was so far close to the touchline. Havertz ended up selling Saka a bad pass. And when Saka passed back, he was expecting either Partey or at least Ben White to sort of pick up the slack. But neither of them were available. and that enabled Pereira to sort of steal the ball and just end up almost miscuing a shot past Ramsdale. But what really makes me angry is if you're still there, I want you to take that white number one and
Yes.
move it up to the move it. Yeah, I want you to take that
Um,
white number one, which is Aaron Ramsdale, and move it to the edge of the penalty area. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Now let's
basic.
assume that the red number. Let's assume that the red number 11 is in fact Andres Pereira. Actually, it's not Andres Pereira, but Pereira had in fact come up from the midfield to make the sort of
Um,
sort of help initiate that attack down the left, which is Arsenal's right. I mean, he
uh,
wasn't down the wings. He was sort of more in the center, but he saw
yeah,
that loose
it
ball and
was.
ran onto it.
It
And
was
with
like
Ramsdale,
here, and then yeah, and
yeah,
Saka was here. This is almost what I saw. He was here. They were split, and then
exactly.
he got a beautiful assist from Bakayo Saka. Um,
Yeah,
absolute peach of a pass. Um, and through this gap, nobody's here, and it looks closer on the ball than it actually is. Ramsdale thinks he's going that way. I don't know why. It would be logical to command your front post, your first post, especially because it would be very hard for him to hit it around you. Um,
yeah, exactly.
unless you're going to turn this way around, like you're not going to run back. You're going to go like this to this side and turn around a bit and run backwards with your back to there. But I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the
Luckily,
thing. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Because there was so many gaps in between the defenders, Ramsdale felt the need to come up. But maybe that's a part of Arteta's system because a lot of people are defending Ramsdale by saying he has to be on the edge of that area in order to help facilitate the system more effectively, an option for a short pass, if you will. And the problem with
okay,
that is he had already conceded a similar goal last season against Manchester City at the Etihad. I believe it was Takahiro Tomiyasu at that time who apparently sold his goalkeeper up the river with a poor back pass, and he was getting a lot of the brickbats. But Ramsdale, once again, has basically shown that as a goalkeeper, he doesn't have any sense of positional awareness. And there
yeah,
comes a time when players have to be, smart enough to say, look, I don't think this system is working. I don't want to be, going too far up front. I don't want to put myself at risk. And so Ramsdale had no need to be that far up. But also the defense is so lacking in cohesion that there are so many gaps. One bad pass, and you're done. But that in itself, Hanno, is the big risk you play when you start Party at right back and have him go into the midfield almost immediately. It's very similar to what we normally would do when we start Zinchenko at left back and have him come into the midfield, leaving us with the back three. And the back three are sort of stretched. Which is why I always say if you want to play a back three, you've got to have two wing backs who can do the job effectively. And the problem is because we have
inverted mutant. I think he was going to say.
yeah.
Uh,
And the problem is because we have Gabriel Martinelli, who's right-footed but who plays on the left, and Bukayo Saka, who's left-footed but plays on the right, we are lacking in that sort of width. And so when we had someone like Kieran Tierney who would be in the team, he could function as both a left back and a left wing back if you wanted that defensive solidity. And we could always have worked that way. This system may provide a lot in terms of XG, a lot of midfield action, a lot of attempts on goal, but it leaves us so anatomically weak at the back that, we're always at risk. And Chelsea fans nailed it. He did the same thing against Southampton, and Zinchenko was in the team that day. Zinchenko cut it in the left. We were left with three at the back. But then we also conceded from the get-go because that time, of course, it was Ramsdale who completely made a jackass of himself. And, defensively, at times we look all over the shop. And that is the worst part about this particular formation. The worst part about letting Kieran Tierney go on loan to Real Sociedad is that he is the fastest player in our team, a top speed of about 36 kilometers an hour whenever he runs. And
Yeah.
that's actually pretty
But
quick when you consider that a large number of. Yeah?
to come into this,
Yeah.
um, also fans did mention that of Zinchenko cutting in. I think the only difference is that when Zinchenko cuts it in and he played the back three, I think there was more space in midfield. Field, field. So that's why you needed to come in. Uh, but if you put Havertz in that position, Havertz isn't going to give you the same that Zinchenko is going to give you in midfield. So
No, he
I
isn't.
I won't be against it, but maybe see um there isn't really anyone else, but you get what I mean. Like there was
I get
more
exactly what you
space,
mean. I get exactly what you mean.
more space in midfield. So and then it would almost be Odegaard and then Jacko almost there. Like he's not in the cam role. He's almost like in between, trying to stop the ball going into midfield, and then Zinchenko and Partey. Then Zinchenko, if Zinchenko sees this danger, he runs, gets there, and then gets done and knocked by who was it? Mo Salah? No, yeah, was Salah. Um, no, it was Trent, I think. But yeah, well, I think we. I don't know if there's anything else to add. I don't know, Arsenal.
Yeah, look, once again, all I'm going to say right now is that you've nailed it brilliantly when you said that Havertz is a huge culprit, but he's not really the only person to blame
Yeah,
here.
he
If we
isn't.
hadn't have sent Kieran, yeah, if we hadn't have sent Kieran Tierney on loan, we'd have a classical left back who'd perform the role of being able to defend solidly, but also run up and down the channels, provide better support to Gabriel Martinelli. Martinelli needs Tierney's support. Some of the best football that he's played for Arsenal has been with Tierney, behind him, backing him up, just as Bukayo Saka would need someone like Ben White. When you put yourself into a situation where you have a three-man defense and not even a wing back, you effectively put the front two of Saka and Martinelli, of two of the front three, in absolute trouble, because you can see now how overworked they're being. They use so much energy running up the channels, trying to make some, make things happen and thread some passes through and give themselves chances to shoot. But by the time they end up trying to shoot, I think the energy is just drained from them, and they don't really have the ability to score. So, I mean, of course, Saka did score an absolute worldie against Forest, but that was on the beginning opening day. We played the opening match, of course, don't forget. And then since then, he had one penalty against Fulham, and that's pretty much it. So the worst part about it is that not only is he trying to accommodate Havertz, but he's completely getting everything completely, backwards in a way. It's utterly stupid. I call this inverted system a completely perverted system, because what happens with this system, Hanno, is that not only does it leave the defense weaker, it also in some ways forces the attackers to do a lot more, and the midfielders also end up working a little bit over time. Now, by some no coincidence, it means that we do play some great football in the midfield and have these ridiculous XG stats, which are the envy of so many teams in the league. In fact, a friend of mine told me, we had an XG of 3.01 while Fulham had an XG of 0.46. So we should have gotten something from the game. But, there are lies, there are damned lies, and there are stats. The only stats that matter are the goals that were scored. And so we need to take a look at our formation and the way we play and say, Mikel, knock it off. You need to go back to basics. Just play a proper flat back three. Tierney's gone out on loan. He's not coming back this season unless there is a huge catastrophe of, epic proportions. And even then, I don't think Arteta will be efficient enough to manage that particular situation. At least if once Zinchenko comes back from injury, at least in theory, we should be able to have a flat back four to start with, and at least there will be some measure of solidity. But he also has got to bring Gabriel Magalhaes back into the team, because Magalhaes and Saliba together work magic. When you have a back three, you weaken Saliba, you weaken Gabriel. It just doesn't make any sense, and that is one of the reasons why I can never abide by his tactics. Just if it means having to drop Kai Havertz, so be it. But the problem is he's going to have that Havertz decision be a huge stick to with which to beat him, is Mikel Arteta, because he bought him. He was the one who paid that much money. I know it was the club who did it, but you can't tell me that Arteta wasn't privy to that particular discussion. And so if he wasn't privy to this discussion, then what the hell is he doing over there? As a manager, he's got to have some input and say, this is ridiculous, I can't do it. With the Chelsea connection, when Antonio Conte was faced with a situation where Spurs brought players that he didn't want, he realized he couldn't work with this thing anymore and walked away. Now, something cataclysmic might end up happening at Arsenal before we see some proper change here. But it's quite clear that the system isn't working. And a lot of people are saying, look, let's just wait until Zinchenko comes back and everything will be fine. The only problem is we're going to be replacing a right back who can't defend with a left back who can't defend. And both of these full backs, per se, like to cut into the middle. And it's the same thing all over again. We just need to try to make sure that we do what is right. Restore the central partnership of Gabriel and Saliba at the very least, because they're together, they work much better. Keep Zinchenko as your left back and have him, come back a little bit, and at least try to make things work from there. Drop and playing Havertz, if he can't contribute, if he can't continue to be a positive part of the system, it's going to be Willian all over again. And if that's the case, then you can forgive a manager once, but you can't forgive him twice. I've already seen that comment from Rich. It has to be Partey, Rice, and Odegaard in midfield with a flat back four. Even if it means starting Zinchenko at left back and having him come in a little bit, that may be okay. But at least you can't just continue to keep Gabriel Magalhaes on the bench and have Saliba, floundering without his defensive partner. I think it's stupid. I think it's irresponsible. And we're going to pay a price. Yes, Hanno.
So I know you need to go soon. I also need to go soon. But let's say Zinchenko comes back. Are you going to drop either Rice or Partey and go with a three in midfield with Zinchenko cutting in? You got White, Saliba, Gabriel. Zinchenko cuts in a bit. Then you drop either Rice or Partey.
We can't afford to drop either Rice or Partey. And don't forget, if Zinchenko cuts in, then that means that it has to be Partey, Rice, Odegaard, and Zinchenko with the three up top. But at least with Zinchenko coming in, at least in theory, he has enough defensive awareness to try and get back, although he was also responsible for the second goal that we conceded by conceding a corner. So at least the only reason why I want Zinchenko back is that if I had to, it's a bit like picking my poison. If I had to choose between a right back who can't defend for toffee and a left back whose defending is only so-so, I'd pick the left back whose defending is only so-so.
Yeah. But we're going to end it here. So, Manny, let me just switch this. Where can people find you?
Yeah, first of all, big up to you, Hanno. Always wonderful to come over here and talk about, any type of sport, any type of in-depth discussion. I love this sort of stuff. I really do. Find me here on the Coach's Corner. I'm about to hop onto Oris Talks Football for their game week review, I believe, for the week gone by. You can catch me there. Preview rather for the upcoming game week. My bad. Also catch me on Del Boy Gunner TV, Up the Cherries in all departments, Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV. Shout out to Villa TV. You can catch me on his channel occasionally. AFC Talk Show TV with MK the Don, and several other channels, Eugen Spurs Asia TV, and just a few more that I can't really name at this particular point, but I will make sure I shout them out next time or send them a check in the post. Always good to have these discussions, and I always say that it's important that we keep things respectful. If we can't agree to disagree without being disagreeable, there's no point in having a discussion. Thanks a lot to everyone in the chat who's joined and contributed. You're the ones who will make this video and Hanno's channel what they are. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the sporting action that's coming up. Tonight there's Carabao Cup action, of course, and then I believe tomorrow there might be some more European action from the, I think, Europa Conference League, of course, which is what Bailey was speaking about. Have a good rest of your week, as I've said. Be safe, be happy. Don't do anything that Mr. Trollope, Mr. Francis, or I wouldn't do. For now, though, adieu, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for joining, Manny. My socials, Instagram, Hanu_coach_corner, and Twitter,
Yeah, cheers.
Hanu70830050, and TikTok, Coach1. Cheers, Manny. So yeah, be up yourselves, people. Yeah, enjoy the show. So yeah, we'll see you all in a bit. Peace out.